Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you here. Episode 2069 of the Cabral Concept, our Total Wellness Tuesday episode. Today's show is by popular re-request, and that is going a little bit deeper on understanding, can you actually change your body type? So we'll be talking about that from a medical science perspective, an Ayurvedic perspective, and then also a genetic perspective. So I want to share with you basically these three possibilities and then allow you to better understand what you can do with this body of yours. So an important thing to really look at, and I would say to even get started with this conversation, is to understand that when you are born, you have a certain set of genes that are encoded in your body. So basically, you're getting some chromosomes from your mom, genes from your mom, you're getting chromosomes, genes from your dad, and what you're left with is ultimately a chromosomal picture of you and a genetic picture of you that is you, right? So even before you're born, believe it or not, scientists would be able to actually look right at your genetic makeup and say, okay, this person is more predisposed to, let's just say, lupus or rheumatoid arthritis. They could tell you if you're more predisposed to being, believe it or not, a fast or slow caffeine metabolizer, meaning like a fast metabolizer of caffeine could be someone that can drink caffeine, let's say a coffee at dinner, and they can still fall asleep at bedtime, no problem, right? A slow metabolizer takes them a while to break down that caffeine. Believe it or not, when you look at someone's genetics, you can say, hey, this person tastes bitter food to a greater degree, which means for them, bitter taste is going to be that much more bitter, not pungent, but bitter to them. You can find out really amazing things by looking at someone's genetics. You can say, okay, this person is going to be more predisposed to being overweight. They're going to be more predisposed to type 2 diabetes. This person's more predisposed to having more inflammation from saturated fats. I know we think, oh, fats are no big deal. Saturated fats are fine, especially if the saturated fats are from grass-fed based cows or whatever it might be. You have to understand, some people are more genetically predisposed to creating inflammation from any type of saturated fats. And the people say otherwise just don't study this part of genetics, which is okay. But remember, like we're getting deep here, right? We're peeling back the onion. Most people talk about the outer layer of the onion, the basics of nutrition, calories in, calories out, the basics of inflammation, trying to squelch inflammation, the basics of herbs, and all of that's great. Some people even deny that toxins are in the world today. Some people believe that your liver and everything detox every single day and there are no toxins inside your body. These people are on the outside of the onion, and that's okay, because whenever they preach these things, you just have to understand it's great information, beautiful information, but very general, right? They don't go deep. And the problem is, if you're one of the people stating those things, that's okay. It really is. But you just can't get then you can't make fun of or think that you have the end-all be-all of knowledge for these things, because that's simply not the truth. There are people who take their time and dissect and pull back the layers, and they're always reading research and always reading the science. And you have to understand, like Ayurvedic medicine, that's done. We looked at it. We know so much about it. But if you're looking at from a conventional medicine standpoint and a scientific standpoint, even from like the biochemistry of vitamins and minerals, it's always going back and forth with science. Science is not something that today is like literally set in stone. So we have to understand that. So we have to just again, be more open. That's it. Be more open to ideas. For the people who believe that the only way to lose weight is to reduce calories, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, I would say to you, you're absolutely correct. What do you do when you have a client that can't lose weight unless they only eat less than 1,000 calories a day? Is that really what you're telling them? Are you really telling them, yeah, we're going to help you lose weight, but you're only going to eat 800 calories a day? Is that really what you're saying? Do you not believe that there might be a better way that's affecting their calories? Do you not understand that if someone is dealing with estrogen dominance or low testosterone or low DHEA or lower levels of thyroid, that they might be more inflamed, that they might be holding more water weight, which has nothing to do with calories in, calories out, and that it's actually lowering their metabolism? Do you not know that the higher levels of cortisol, higher levels of norepinephrine, and the sympathetic nervous system dominance is actually causing them to store more body fat? That's actually causing them to break down more of their own sugar, raise their own blood sugar, even if they don't eat any food, and then increase the levels of insulin? And the increased levels of insulin is storing more fat and causing them to break down more of their own muscle tissue, which is lowering their own metabolism, right? So we have to understand that there's so much to this science that we don't have to know it all, but what we want to do is keep our minds open. That's really what it's all about. So getting back to genetics, you have your genetics and they're not going to change. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's predeterminism. That is not how I want to live. And here's the other good news. So even though medical science was a little disappointed when they decoded the genome, how long ago was that? 40 years ago? Somewhere around there. Don't quote me on the 40 years, but it's been a while. It's been a little bit, okay? Not quite 40 years. So when we look at it, we say, oh, that's not all that exciting. Humans, not even that much different than, laboratory mice. But here's the big difference, is that they found in medical science, and that's why we need these scientists in the lab performing all of these things, writing the research, is that we have so many more, exponentially many more single nucleotide polymorphisms. You might have heard about this before. I've spoken about the Cabral concept. Let's just call them SNPs for short. SNPs are actually influenced by our lifestyle. So if you've read my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, I talk about the de-stress protocol: diet, exercise, stress, toxins, rest, emotions, supplements, success mindset, right? All of those things affect your expression of these single nucleotide polymorphism, SNPs, that affect your genes, which means this. Some things like a caffeine metabolism, sure, you're going to metabolize it faster or slower, but you can actually affect that in terms of lifestyle, right? In fact, in terms of food, right? You put food in your stomach, well, the caffeine absorption is going to slow down. So we know we can affect it that way. However, just because you are predisposed to a dis-ease doesn't mean that you need to get that disease. Let me give you a good example. I'm a prime example of this. I was way too young to have all of these issues. But when I was 17, for a variety of issues, or a huge amount of issues because of gut issues and stress and so many other things, I ended up with Addisons disease. That's adrenal-based issues. I ended up with POTS. I ended up with autoimmune issues like rheumatoid arthritis. I ended up with type 2 diabetes where I failed a glucose tolerance test. I had issues with insomnia. I had issues with skin issues, all sorts of issues, okay? So that went on for about 10 years. Those are my genetics. My genetics are autoimmune issues. My genetics are high cholesterol, okay? My genetics are high bad cholesterol and low good cholesterol with HDL. My genetics are lots of inflammation. My genetics are sinus infections, yeast overgrowth, Th2, immune dominance, allergies, asthma. Those are my genetics. Now, 20 plus years later, no autoimmune, no asthma, no allergies, no type 2 diabetes, no health issues. Why? I have the same genetics. What happened? What happened? Well, what happened was I was leading a different lifestyle then as a teenager. Overstressed, working a job, going to school, playing sports, relationships. I was on 2 capsules of amoxicillin every day for skin issues given my dermatologist. I was eating a lot of sugar, a lot of processed food, unhealthy levels of meats, all sorts of different things. Now, I'm not saying you can't have carbs. I'm not saying you can't have meat. That's not what today's discussion is. But some people like to pull out a little snapshot and that's it, right? Don't let that be you. Keep an open mind. I had all of these health issues. I went to the best doctors in the world in Boston, Massachusetts. Harvard educated, brilliant doctors. Harvard, MIT, brilliant, right? Absolutely brilliant. Problem is they were looking at one vector, one way of my health. That was blood work. It was only when I met other doctors, other healthcare practitioners, other integrative health practitioners that showed me how to look at other labs, that began to look at all the H. pylori and candida overgrowth and SIBO I had, right? All the toxicity that was built up, all the food sensitivities I had, the adrenal issues, right? All of these things they helped me with, all my vitamin deficiencies, my magnesium, my zinc deficiencies, all these things, my B vitamins. So here's the thing. I removed my deficiencies. Basically, I replaced my deficiencies and I removed my toxicities. I became well again. Didn't happen overnight, but it happened. I have the same body, and so do you. You can turn your body into an absolute disaster and miserable place to live in, or it can be the best thing that you've ever done for yourself. That's it. Now, am I saying it's easy? No, my path was not easy, but yours can be much shorter. Again, I went through this in the late 90s. There was no internet. No internet, at least where I was from. That wasn't the case. I didn't even have internet when I was in college. We did, but it was dial-up. Nobody was using the internet, right? So here's the thing. Easier today, but people are talking about the outside of the onion. They're not going deep. So now let's talk about body type. I get questions all the time. What's my real body type? Well, I was thin as a teenager, and now I'm 35 and I'm overweight. Why is this? Well, your body's fully developed really in your 20s. For some women, not until they have children. Some women will never have children. It's okay. Like that's not to say you're to have children or not to have children. But I'm letting you know what is Ayurvedic medicine. What is the truth of your genotype. So think genetics, that is set in stone. Your body is pre-programmed to be a body when you are born. You have the genetics. Now, can we start to use interesting new technology like CRISPR to start to edit out genes? Yes. We're not there yet, but yes. Will that change your actual bone structure when you become an adult? The answer is no, right? So here's the thing. We have a genotype we are born with. However, it is a phenotype for what we become. So even me, my own health, I do not have a robust body type. I do not have a robust immune system, okay? I got sick. I couldn't get well. My body was deteriorating for literally 5 years, and then I started to get a little bit better. I would relapse. I would get a little bit better. Finally, I meet my mentor, Dr. Pete, pull everything together. I get it. I get well within 4 months. After all that time, 4 to 6 months, boom, that's it. Amazing, right? Have I learned more since then? Have I gotten even healthier? Of course. Of course, we're all on a journey. It gets even better. I get older every year. I feel better every year. I work out as hard, literally, I work out 20 years later from when I was in college. Now, I was thinking about the other day, my workouts are just as hard. They're just as strenuous, and I feel fantastic. Could I do that when I had Addison's disease? I was a mess. I would get more and more sick. So here's the thing. A lot of these questions come in around body transformation. I have an entire podcast category dedicated to this now. I'm going to link it up for you today. It's all on figuring out your Ayurvedic dosha, which is your body type. In medical science, they call it a somatotype. In modern day language, I'm putting that in air quotes if you're watching this on video, it's the ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph, okay? That is genetic. That's your genotype, okay? In Ayurveda, they call it the Vata, the Pitta, and the Kapha. They correspond perfectly, except Ayurveda is much more in depth, and it was invented 6,000 years ago, not 40, 50 years ago with somatotypes, okay? So really, really important that we understand this, but it's understood in psychology and physiology, because somatotypes actually match up with psychology as well. We'll save that one for another day, but again, they're all in the Ayurvedic shows. It will teach you so much about yourself, and you'll begin to respect your unique body so much more. There are people that are 5'6" that are meant to weigh 120 pounds, and there are people that are 5'6" that are meant to weigh 180 pounds. So you have to understand, or 160 pounds, we'll say. You have to understand there's a 40-point swing, and I talked about this on finding your healthy BMI for you. Again, not everybody's BMI should be a 19. Shouldn't be the goal. Some people's healthy BMI is a 24. My healthy BMI is actually in the higher end, 23, 24 for my height. It's a healthier BMI for me. Yours might be too. You're not destined to be anything specifically, but that's where the phenotype comes in. Understand you are born with your genetics that are not changing. Okay? A lot of people say that's terrible because I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be unhealthy. I don't want to be like how my grandparents were sick or my parents were sick or whatever it is. Well, here's the good news. You might have a lot of the same genetics. Okay? Maybe that's the bad news, but the good news is this. You can influence those. You can turn them off or turn them on. This is scientifically proven. It's called epigenetics. This is our phenotype, okay? So hopefully now you understand you were born with your genotype and your genetics. But there's a whole other half to this called a phenotype. This has been studied now for well over 100 years with identical twins, okay? Same genetics. What happened? Lived a different life. One twin, 100 pounds overweight of the other twin. One twin extremely sick, one twin healthy. Why? The way that they lived their life, psychologically and physiologically, led to poor health or good health. Every decision we make adds up to the sum of the whole. And nothing really matters that day, unless it's an injury, right? Those things do happen. But what matters is the compounding effect of life. If you think negative thoughts, you do negative things towards the body and mind, you end up with negative results over time. That's basically the law of averages. That's what's going to happen. Lots of negative, lots of negative, lots of negative. That's what you're going to end up with, right? You do more positive, you do more positive, you do more positive. Even if you're sick, you eventually get well. I was sick for 10 years, but I'm a pretty stubborn guy. I never gave up. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would relapse and I would throw myself the biggest pity party in the world. You know, I'd invite as many people that would listen. But eventually I said, you know what? This pity party's not getting me anywhere. I'm really unhappy. Let's try the next thing. Let's try the next thing. Oh, that didn't work out. I don't believe that person. Believe me, I was angry. I was unhappy. Let's try the next thing. Very stubborn. That stubbornness ended up being a positive thing because I moved on to the next thing. And I was just crazy enough to believe that the next thing may work. I talked about it on yesterday's show, suspending disbelief. You don't have to believe it will work, just don't believe it won't work. And then work the process. Take what does work from it and then carry it over to the next thing. Eventually, you learn so much, you've done so many positive things, it adds up. Positive things, positive thoughts over time add up to a positive life. So if you're looking to lose weight, you'll figure it out. If you're looking to get healthy, you'll figure it out. You're looking to get a better, as I talked about yesterday, job, career, relationship, spirituality, love, all those things. Do more positive things. That is the phenotype of the body. We are basically set with this molecular structure with these specific genes, but then what we do in our actions, including our thoughts and our feelings, which affect the nervous system, then changes the neurochemistry of our body. Neuro being our nervous system affecting the chemistry, which is literally our feel good or not feel good neurotransmitters that also then allow us to have energy or don't have energy and take action or don't take action. So yes, you're born with your genetics, but yes, you're also able to change your body, your health, and anything that is you. So while you may not be able to rewrite the genetic code or your genotype, you absolutely can be on the leaner side if you're a Kapha body type. And if you're a Vata body type, you absolutely can build muscle and put on weight. And if you're born with a little bit more Th2 sensitivity and you get sick more often, you can absolutely build a more robust immune system. You absolutely can. So do understand you've been given a lot of good and maybe a couple negative things with your genetics, right? We all have pros and cons. That's life, right? Here's the thing. Double down on the things that you're already great at that you can do, and then work on some of those things that you might be more predisposed to. More predisposed to autoimmune? That's what I am. So what do I do not to get autoimmune issues? Live an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. Don't overdo my workouts, right? Do it to the capacity that I can. And then what do? My quarterly functional medicine detoxes. Don't allow toxins to accumulate, right? Literally, I follow my de-stress protocol. It's completely free. My book, literally for the third year now, and I don't want to overly stress this. I print the copies for you. So if you have not read The Rain Barrel Effect, please allow me to ship a copy to you for free. It doesn't mean that you're going to do anything with it, but allow me to at least get it onto your coffee table, onto your desk at work, so that you go through and you see the de-stress protocol. It's how you get well. It's how you change your phenotype, okay? Diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest and sleep programs, emotional balance, scientifically backed supplement protocols, and a success mindset. Because if you don't have the success mindset, if you can't suspend disbelief, you'll never get started in the first place. That's why it's so important. That's why it's in the book. This is what I've been doing for the last 25 years, 20 full-time years of my life, literally 22 full-time years. So here's the thing. You can do this. Today's podcast was to give you the actual science behind it. Yes, your genetics are your genetics. However, those genetics are influenced by your lifestyle because it influences the SNPs, the single nucleotide polymorphisms. We know this. It's called epigenetics. It turns on your genes or off your genes in a positive way or a negative way. Allow it to be positive. What you do with your body, what you do with your mind, what you do with your life is your phenotype. That is up to you. You have control over it 100%. If you haven't read my book yet, at least start there. If not, just continuing to keep tuning into the Cabral concept. I teach a little bit every single day. And of course, if you have any questions, we're here to help. Just write in those questions at cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our free online Facebook group. 13,000 plus members from all over the world. We've never advertised. It's a completely organic group of amazing people there to support each other. Or you can even just, we can email us, you can text us. I mean, you name it. We'll be there for you. Just let us know how we can help. And of course, if this podcast was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. I'll talk with you tomorrow.